Madhvi, can you see my screen sharing?
Your screen is sharing. It is showing us your library where we can see all your
Files.
files. Yeah.
Okay. 1 second. I'll just check again. Okay.
Just check that your system, you have unmuted yourself and your system volume is high. Unmute yourself, Sunita. Otherwise, video cannot be played.
I am unmuted. Now
Yeah.
check it is unmuted. Okay.
So why don't you play, Madhavi? This time you play, and Sunita will try to do it maybe next time.
Now is it audible?
No.
No. No sound.
I'm playing it, but I don't know why it's not.
Yeah.
I'll
Madhavi, you go ahead and you play.
Okay. Sunita, can you just stop that share?
Yes. Last time it was playing, but I don't know. Madhvi, it is not audible.
जीवन पूर्ण बने ध्यान कर लो जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा अनुभव कर लो जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा 20 मिनट बस ध्यान कर लो जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा सुबह शाम बस ध्यान कर लो जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा आसन प्राणायाम कर लो जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा अनुभव कर लो जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा अवतीत ध्यान कर लो सबकी आत्मा शांति का सागर है सबकी आत्मा आनंद का सागर है सबकी आत्मा शांति का सागर है सबकी आत्मा ज्ञान का सागर है सबकी आत्मा ज्ञान का सागर है सबकी आत्मा शक्ति का सागर है
అది నాకు అది ఇవ్వమ్మా అనేది డివైస్
अनुभव कर लो जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा 20 मिनट बस ध्यान कर लो जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा सुबह शाम बस ध्यान कर लो जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा आसन प्राणायाम कर लो जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा अवतीत ध्यान कर लो जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा अनुभव कर लो जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा अवतीत ध्यान कर लो
Jai Gurudev to all. Welcome. We will begin with Sahana Vavatu and then Madhavi will conduct. पंडितों को स्वागत करती हूँ. कृपया वक्तु से आनंद सहना वक्तु से आरंभ कीजिए.
अजी फिर कहाँ से ला रहा है? हैं? कहाँ से लाया है? गली ओम शांति शांति शांति.
जय गुरुदेव. मुकेश जी, आप तीनों एक जगह पे हैं या अलग अलग हैं?
एक जगह.
तो एक ऑडियो अनम्यूट रखना, बाकी का 2 म्यूट रखना, तब आवाज अच्छा सुनाई देगी. ठीक है जी. माधवी, कैरी ऑन प्लीज. Madhavi, unmute please. We can't hear you.
Jai Gurudev. We welcome all the participants for our today's session of Bhagavad Gita. Today we will be learning verses 46 and 47. But before we start the study of verses 46 and 47, we will have the begin mala of verses 44 and 45 by our Vedic Pandits. May I request Mukesh ji, can you please go ahead with mala verses 44 and 45 of chapter 2.
Om Yavanartharudapane Sarvata Samlutodake Avan Sarveshu Vedeshu Brahmanasya Vijanataha Karmannevadhikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana Ma Karma Phalaheturбhu Ma Te Sangostva Karmani. Om.
May we request you to chant the begin mala verses 44, Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanam. That and the next verse. Traigunya Vishaya Veda.
44, 45.
44 and 45.
जी. Om Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanam Taya Parachetasam Vyavasayatmika buddhi Samadhauna vidhiyate Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistragunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sastvasto Niryoga Chema Atmavan.
Jai Gurudev. Thank you very much. So before we start today's session, we will have a recapitulation of verse 45, which we have learned in the last class. So may I request Hema ji to kindly recapitulate the 45th verse for us?
Okay. So today we are going to do something different. Instead of me recapping, I would like all of you to pitch in. And I mentioned it last time or in the WhatsApp group. I would like all the members to come up with 1 point each there are 6 main points in the shloka. Traigunya Vishaya Veda is one. Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna is the second one. Nidvandvo is one. Nitya Sattvastha is another one. Niryoga Kshema is another one. Last one is Atmavan. So let's recap all these 6 points. And I would like anybody to unmute and come up with a point and explain it in your own words, how you understood this most important verse. Go ahead.
Hemaji, can I start then?
Yes, please. Anita ji, go ahead.
Then from this verse 45, I have taken the point, be without 3 gunas.
Okay.
What I get is that gunas are the motivators to action. So the entire creation consists of these gunas, because these gunas, the sattva, tamas, and rajas, they are born of prakriti, of nature. So they are not working alone in our lives. There is an interplay of 3 of them, because we have seen that under the evolution lies the activity. And these 3 gunas are in our life in the form of activity. But what happens that these 3 gunas are working our life on the relative field. As all the life in the relative field is under their sway. Now the question here I understand is that when we say be without 3 gunas, we understand that from the relative field, we have to arrive at the absolute pure consciousness being. So how do we come to that field is that we transcend to the subtlest state. We come out of the relative state and be without 3 gunas, because if we remain at the relative level with the 3 gunas, then it will be difficult to reach that absolute life, because the gunas at the relative field will not guide us properly, because we will be, as we understand, at the relative level. So the field of absolute, which we reach through transcendence, through meditation, transcendental meditation, over there, when we reach to that absolute pure consciousness level, then we are beyond the gunas. We are in activity though, but we are beyond the gunas, because all the purpose of all activity is fulfilled in the state of being. Jai Gurudev.
Yeah. So what Anita ji just said is that we are in the realm of 3 gunas where activity is prevailing, and all problems are in that area. So we go beyond that. And how do we do that? In meditation, we close eyes, we do meditation, mind settles down, we experience the subtlest, and we go beyond the activity of the 3 gunas. Then we experience the silence of pure consciousness.
Am I right, Samaji?
Yes.
Have I understood rightly?
Yes. Yes. So we go beyond the 3 gunas to experience pure consciousness. That is, when we do meditation, we find the mind is settling down, and then it settles down more and more. We experience finer levels of thought. We go beyond the finest level, and there is no mantra, no thought. That is the state of pure consciousness, silence of Atma. And there is no activity, because we have transcended activity. We have gone beyond. And that's why Maharishi said, bringing in the second element. When there is darkness, you bring light. Okay, that's a most important point of this shloka. And there are other points. Anybody wants to bring out the other points?
Yeah, Jai Gurudev Hemaji.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Padma.
Padma, go ahead, Padma.
Jai Gurudev. So I want to point out the Nirdvantu.
Okay.
So in my point of view, actually, that our world is surrounded by 3 gunas. So that is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So actually, we are getting happiness from these 3 gunas. Actually, this belongs to the profit loss. So in our life, so we have the profit or loss, daily life we have to, then victory and defeat. So sometimes we, whatever the work, we will get a success. So sometimes we are getting the loss. Then happy third is not equal in our life. So it varies from our day-to-day life. So we are facing the problem. Actually, this happened in my life also. Whenever just I feel very happy, but immediately I should get some bad experience also, that one. But only the technique is that mantras, usually we will pronounce the Gita, 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 that is. So we have to pronounce the word Tyagi, 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 that is one. Tyagi, Tyagi, Tyagi. So this word, actually we started to pronounce it, that is our replace our negative thoughts with our positive ones. Then it controls our mind and thoughts, this word. So it's my point. Actually, I understood that. So whatever the happy thought or victory loss, but we have to concentrate the point of this Gita, whatever the mantras, our TM thought that mantras, we have to bring out that. Then we have to control our mind. So feel happy.
Okay.
So I have understood like that.
So Padma, I would like to clarify that there is no control in our technique, and we don't concentrate, we don't control the mind. So that is one thing, we have to understand very clearly. I'm glad you brought out this point, because sometimes there can be some misunderstanding that in order to gain happiness, you have to control the mind, control the negativity and all that. But Maharishi gave us a very effortless technique. Our technique is very different and very unique in that we don't control the mind like mind control. What we do, we allow the mind to settle down. That is the most important point. So when you are repeating the sound, you're repeating the mantra, we repeat innocently, and then the mind automatically goes to the fields of greater happiness, because mind knows that there is greater happiness in subtler levels of thinking. When the mind settles down, we feel more peaceful, and that happens automatically and spontaneously in our meditation. So there is no control at all. We don't control the mind. We don't tell the mind to, you have to go in this direction. We just very innocently repeat the mantra. That's all.
Yeah, Hemaji, but I can't do the, because the situation is like that. So
yeah, but what happens? So there are two things, Padma. One is during meditation, one is outside of meditation. So what we are discussing now is during meditation, you take the mantra, you do your meditation, and mind settles down. Okay? Is that point clear? Mind settles down. In the beginning, you may feel that there are a lot of thoughts, and then you find that there are fewer thoughts. Mind is settling down, and you already begin to feel that peace and some happiness and some pleasantness in meditation. In that situation, there is no self-control. I repeat, we do not control the mind at all. The mind goes, you let the mind go. Just the river is flowing towards the ocean, you let it go. And so this point is during meditation. Now, outside of meditation, if there is a situation, we deal with it using our common sense. If there is negativity, then you replace the negativity with the opposite thought. That's what Maharishi Patanjali says in Yoga Sutras, outside of meditation, when we are in activity, we are faced with so many different kinds of situations. Sometimes there may be some negativity, we may have to deal with it. So depending upon situation, every situation is different. We deal with it to the best of our ability. Okay, Padma, is that clear?
Okay, Hemaj. I'll
Okay.
try to bring that.
Yes. So
because
what
there is
the point you are bringing out, nirdvandvo, there is duality. In relativity, there is always duality. When there is pleasure, there is pain. When there is heat, there is cold. These are pairs of opposites. So because there is always duality in relativity, we go beyond duality. That's what it means. Nirdvandvo. Dvandva means two, nir means without. So wherever there is duality, there is this fear comes. But when you go beyond duality, beyond two, when you transcend, then there is only one, unity. So when there is only one unity, there is no fear there. So that's what it means when we go beyond duality. And that's again happens when we transcend. And this comes with practice. It may not come overnight, but that's why we emphasize that we do meditation morning and evening. And gradually, all these qualities we develop. Okay, so let's move on to the next point. Who wants to bring up the next point?
Jai Gurudev Hemaji, I will go with the first main point,
Okay.
Traigunya Vishaya Veda.
Okay.
So this is actually speaking about the three gunas that have been expounded by the Vedas, which are the Sattva guna, which relates with goodness, calmness, being harmonious, and the second guna is the Rajas. So it is associated with passion, activity, and Tamas is the third quality or the third guna, where it is associated with ignorance, inertia, lethargy. These are the aspects of the Tamo guna. Now, each individual, each of us, we have a relative proportion of all the three gunas, and these proportions vary from individual to individual. And the variation in these proportions is basically because of our samskaras, or the tendencies we have developed from the maybe the countless past lives, if we believe in the scriptures. And the beauty of the Vedic culture is that these scriptures, they accept every individual with this disparity, and they are giving us instruction for people at various levels. So maybe when I'm sleeping, I exhibit the guna of sleep. When I am involved in activity, doing certain actions, and trying to, maybe I'm giving an examination, waiting for the result of an examination in anticipation that I fare well. I see there, that is, I am performing an action and also associating myself with the fruit of that action. So this quality exhibits the Rajoguna. And the Sattva guna is maybe I'm showing my gratitude towards whatever I am blessed with. And at times I say, the goodness that I have received, I should also be imparting or sharing it with my friends. So that is a state that I exhibit the Sattva guna. Now, the world that we are living in is basically comprehended by all these senses. And it is conditioned by these three gunas, which are nothing but the attributes of our mind. Now, as we have been discussing, this world, when it is comprehended by these three gunas, it is in a relative state and it is not in an absolute state. So this comprehended world, conditioned by the Sattva, Rajas and Tamo gunas, is very limited, and it is also transitory. Not only that, it is also perishable. But when we try to establish ourselves in that pure consciousness, that is beyond these three gunas, and that alone is which is eternally perfect. This is what I take, for example, if let you know, to relate to a small story here. Three friends, they would be going out, and on the way they are very hungry. So they don't know what to do. So just at the roadside, they just lie down. Suddenly their eyes catch up with a beautiful mango tree with lots of fruits. So three of them will think each one will take turns, go and suffice our hunger with the mango fruit. So one of them goes there. He looks at the tree. He says, so many beautiful and good fruit is being given. I should thank God for that. Before his hand goes to pluck the right fruit, he feels, why should I pluck the right fruit when a beautiful ripe fruit is fallen down? So he doesn't touch the tree. Whatever is fallen down, he picks them up. He enjoys the fruit. He satisfies his hunger, and he feels, I should show my gratitude. My hunger has been sufficed by this tree. Maybe tomorrow some passerby will also be hungry like this. So he sows the seed of that mango and goes back. The second person comes there. He sees the fruit and he says, oh, so much of fruit. I'm anyway going to another place in search of a livelihood. Why not I pick up as many mangoes as possible and sell them? So he axes off a branch with full of fruits and takes it along with him. Now the third friend comes there. He is so ignorant, he doesn't know which is a tasty fruit and which is not. He plucks a fruit, he feels it is, sour, it is not a ripe fruit. He just takes a bite and drops it down. He does that a couple of times, and later he says, see, in my childhood, I have planted so many of these seeds, but not a single tree gave me any fruit. And look at this tree, it is there, but none of them is as sweet. None of the mangoes that I have picked up are as sweet as my friends have expressed. So in a fit of anger, he just flares up the entire tree. So in this story, we see the three gunas that are being exhibited by all the three friends. The first one, who was showing goodness towards the tree and gratitude, exhibits a sattva guna. The second, who is trying to involve himself in certain sort of activities, he's exhibiting a rajoguna. And the third one, he's so ignorant, he cannot distinguish between which is a ripe fruit and which is a raw fruit. So out of his ignorance, he has set the entire tree ablaze. So these are the three gunas that have been exhibited.
Yeah. So in interest of time, Madhavi, we have to move on. So you brought up the point about the three gunas and how they're represented, and you gave examples. That's good. So like we discussed before, we are in this relative world with all the three gunas. And so in order to reach pure consciousness, go beyond the three gunas, we practice TM and then we go beyond the three gunas. Okay. So we have to move on because we have two more shlokas to cover. The other 3 points we have discussed in the last session is what Atmavan is one. When we transcend and experience transcendental consciousness, we become Atmavan. Atmavan means possessed of Atma. So we have Atma, and that is the best benefit of doing TM, because you experience Atma and you are possessed of Atma. And the way to do it is to transcend, go beyond the three gunas. And the other two are Niryoga Kshema. Mataji explained this last time very nicely. Yoga and Kshema. These two things. People are always worried about preserving what they have. Lock it up, lock your house, do this, do that. You're so scared that you may lose it. So you're always trying to protect what you have. And the other quality is you're trying to gain what you don't have. That's what Duryodhana did. I mean, he has kingdom, but still he's greedy for more. And so he's fighting his cousins for that. So when you go beyond the three gunas, you are established in this state of pure consciousness where you're fully content. And because you're content, you're not worried about anything else. That's another very great practical benefit of transcending and experiencing the silence of Atma in us. And there is one more. What is it? Nitya Sattvastu. And we are established in purity. And the purity of pure consciousness. And Maharishi explained, described very nicely, where, you know, when something is covered with something, there are layers. It's not pure. So this Atma is covered by the three gunas. When you go beyond, then you experience Atma in its purity, and you are established in that. So these are the 6 main points, and I think we had a nice discussion. We'll move on to the next shloka. Madhavi, go ahead.
Yes.
Now,
Thank
Mataji
you.
will comment first, and then I'll do the next one. Go ahead.
Shall we request them to chant verses 46 and 47 once again, or shall we go ahead with the English?
We will do the 46th shloka only, and then Mataji will comment.
Yes. May we request the Vedic Pandits to recite the Samskrita of verse 46?
Om Yavanartha Sarvada Samplutodake Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu Brahmanasya Vijanataha Om
Jai Gurudev. Am I audible, Madhavi?
Yes, Gita.
Shall I read?
Yes. Maybe you can be a bit louder.
Okay. To the enlightened Brahman, all the Vedas are of no more use than is a small well in a place flooded with water on every side. Enlightened Brahman, one who has gone through the study and practice of the Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and Jnana Kanda of the Vedas. That is, one who knows the secret of action, dedication, and knowledge. While every action has the aim of happiness, the actions prescribed by the Vedas at the same time help a man to evolve beyond his present level. But a Jivan Mukta, a man of cosmic consciousness, finds himself at the ultimate fulfillment of all the duties prescribed for him. He knows reality with such great fullness that he becomes established in that, in the state of absolute bliss consciousness. This is how, having gained the final aim of the whole Vedic way of life, such a man rises above the field of Vedic injunctions about right and wrong, and also about the need for Vedic rituals. He rises above the need of the Vedic guidance. The state of realization is like a reservoir full of water from which people quite naturally draw to satisfy all their needs instead of getting their water from many small ponds. Therefore, Sri Krishna Bhagavan asks Arjuna to be without the 3 gunas and not waste his life in planning and achieving small gains in the ever-changing field of the 3 gunas. To be a self-contained whole instead of trying to achieve a little here and there. Not only does the state of realization fulfill the overall purpose of man's craving for greater and greater happiness, it also brings the mind naturally to the highest degree of mental development. It brings a realized man to a state where, by virtue of a high development of mental strength and harmony with the laws of nature, he finds that his thoughts naturally become fulfilled without much effort on his part. A man in this state has given such a natural pattern to his existence that he enjoys the full support of Almighty nature for life. He is in direct attunement with cosmic law, the field of being, which forms the basis of all the laws of nature. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you, Sunita. Mataji, can we have your comments on verse 46?
Yes, Nana. Nobody can, say it better than Maharishi ji. And if one has listened really carefully and peacefully, every word of it is so valuable. You have already gotten all of it. So what Mataji, somebody like Mataji is trying to say is just to reinforce that idea of what Maharishi ji is conveying. That's all, because, So from the verse number 45, we have already, understood Bhagavan saying that, you go beyond the three gunas, right? And now we come to the verse number 46, which says, to the enlightened Brahmana, all the Vedas are of no use than a small well in a place where there is a flood. I will also read the verse number 47 because they're all connected. You have control over action alone, never over its fruits. Live not for the fruits of action, nor attach yourself to inaction. So here we're coming back to the verse number 45, where Bhagavan has said that now, go beyond the three gunas, and as a result, you will fulfill all your aspirations in the relative field. Bhagavan was also trying to be cautious. He thought that Arjuna might infer that now he is not required to do anything anymore. He just goes beyond the three gunas. He is happy and fulfilled there, and he does not have to do any more actions. So that's why, so that Arjuna might not develop an aversion to action, then Bhagavan again immediately says, you have control over action alone. So Arjuna, you should be completely absorbed in the action itself as to become oblivious of everything else, including the fruits of actions. This, Hemaji will expound on it, but I want this to be a caution for all the seekers, just to understand that going beyond the three gunas, and being the being itself does not mean that you are devoid of action and you give up action and you live a life like that. Then it will not be a life of fulfillment. So now here, there are very interesting things here. To the enlightened Brahmana, all the Vedas are of no use. Then a small well in a place where there is a flood. Two words here are there, very intriguing. One is Brahmana. We also already know, a Brahmana is one, who is already knows the Brahma Vidya. only then he is called Brahmana. So if you know the Brahma Vidya, then you know that you are Brahman and you are the self alone. Then there is also this word used, enlightened Brahmana. So it is the reinforcement, because normally everyone thinks, that a Brahmana is one who has gone through the study or practice of Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda, Jnana Kanda of the Vedas, and he knows the secret of action, the secret of dedication, and the secret of knowledge. He already knows this in the Brahma Vidya. But here, Bhagavan is adding this word enlightened Brahmana just to make sure that, this Brahmana has become Jivan Mukta. He is liberated. He is in freedom of doing the action. He can choose how he wants to live. Because every action has the aim of happiness, and the actions prescribed by Vedas also help a man to evolve. Because happiness is not the only aim. In whole of the Vedas, happiness is not the only goal. The ultimate goal is this happiness has to bring evolution for everybody. For you in particular, this happiness has to bring evolution. So for that, one needs to be enlightened. And here when Bhagavan says, Jivan Mukta is the man of cosmic consciousness, I would say cosmic consciousness and beyond. That is the beginning point. He finds himself at the ultimate fulfillment of all the duties prescribed for him. Now, if we have to understand Jivan Mukta, that means, one who knows that he is the self alone, the 24 hours during the waking, dreaming, and sleeping states, that feeling, that understanding that you are the self alone is established. So where the self is established, one is established in the self, and then one knows clearly that I am the self alone, and everything that is happening within me, in this relative matter, within my own body, physiology, whatever, and the surroundings is the non-self, because it is continuously changing. There is no permanency. There is some degeneration, decay, and death. But the self, the immortal, which remains always the same as is, I am that self. So one who has this cognition that I am the self in the waking, dreaming, and sleeping states is the Jivan Mukta. He is free from the aspects of this relative consciousness. Although he is living there, functioning there, acting there, but his actions are mainly to fulfill the Loka Kalyanam. So, this Jivan Mukta, he knows the reality with fullness. He knows the reality with fullness and becomes established in that. That means he itself in a state of absolute bliss consciousness. Because the nature of the self is bliss alone. The nature of the self is bliss alone. So even he is established in that self, he is in bliss. Such a man automatically rises above this field of Vedic injunctions. Because all these Vedic injunctions are in the relativity only. Where there is, because what are these Vedic injunctions? We have to understand them correctly. What is right and wrong? What is good and bad? What is conducive for a revolution or not? These are the Vedic injunctions. And and then for this, there are many Vedic rituals. Vedic rituals and performances done by this Brahmana. But when this Brahmana is fully enlightened and he becomes the Jivan Mukta, then he naturally rises above these and he is freed from performing these rituals. Unless if he wants to do, he has a choice. He wants to do it, I do the yagyas too. But it is important to understand that he has a choice here. He can be free of them and just be the self alone, but there is no injunction here. So, but here again, Bhagavan cautions. He says Vedas are needed to guide the unenlightened to do his dharma. So this is, one should not think, that now Vedas are not needed. Even the enlightened should always bring this knowledge of the Vedas to the ones who don't know them, because it helps the unenlightened to be in his dharma, to evolve further and to attain the bliss consciousness and become Jivan Mukta, to bring to that status. So this self-realization, or being the Jivan Mukta, fulfills the overall purpose of man's craving for greater happiness. And how does it do? It brings the mind naturally to the highest degree of mental development and in harmony with the laws of nature. He's already attuned with the laws of nature. And then the mind is highly developed. That means the individual mind is not there anymore. It is the cosmic mind, which is content in itself, which is fulfilled in itself. And so naturally the self-realization, the purpose of craving for the happiness is gone. Because what are you craving? Only when you think, you don't have something, when you need something else, when you need something more. So his thoughts naturally become fulfilled without much effort, because he is on that level where there is the union with the nature, and the self is all Purna. It is all one fullness. It is all one full ocean there. So his thoughts naturally become fulfilled without much effort, since he is in attunement with all the cosmic laws. And what is this field of cosmic laws? It is the field of being, which forms the basis of all the laws of nature. So be he being the being, then he is automatically attuned to all the laws of nature, just like the ocean is attuned to all the waves that are going around it. So he is automatically there. So Bhagavan is again teaching a step further by saying how to support activity and also how to uphold evolution and freedom. And that will become, Hemaji's territory, where she will expound on it. This then gives the possibility to everyone to live the values of the divine in the world. So our whole goal is to rise in consciousness, to establish the experience of the self, establish it so that it is there 24 hours a day. Then, you never lose this feeling that you are not the self. And then you know that you are always the self, and all that is there around you is a non-self. And being established in that, then you are the Jivan Mukta. You have become liberated. So, again, one should not infer from this verse that a man has no right to the fruits of his action. Again, that, Hemaji is going to expound on it, because, the second verse, it is mentioned here in this verse. These words are mentioned, but they will be expounded. And only the technique for achieving the maximum result from an action is given here. Bhagavan says that Arjuna has no control over the fruits of action. Just because I said, go beyond the three gunas, just understand that you have to continue acting. Now, one should fulfill the action with complete devotion, dedication, undivided attention, and oblivious of its fruits. Only in this way will he achieve the maximum results from what he does. Now, I will go a step further and say, Krishna's teaching supports activity and also upholds evolution at the same time. And freedom. There is freedom. Three things he is telling here. He is supporting the activity, he is upholding the evolution, and at the same time he is saying, you have to be in freedom. What you want to do, how you want to do, where you want to do. This freedom is also there. And so that everyone can enjoy the values of the divine in the world without accumulating any karma. So Gita reminds us that we need to live a life of fulfillment, how to gain it, and how to be in freedom. This is the ultimate. It tells us how to live a life of full potential. Because as long as we are living, we have to work, whether it is mental activity of a sannyasi or the physical activity of a grihastha. We have to work. We have to live and accomplish. And we have to enjoy and gain the full potential. This is for every seeker and for every human being. Now, there are 4 Vedic principles. I just wanted to bring this up. This is needed by everybody, but this is in Purnatva in the one who is Jivan Mukta. And these are the first, these are described, this is not given here, but I thought I will just cover this. Just in 1 minute, I will take these. The first one is called Sampurti, which is integrity. It is described in the Vedas. And the second is called Shraddha, which we say authenticity. And the third is Upayanam, which is responsibility. And the fourth is Apyayanam, which is enriching. So even as a seeker, one has to grow in this, being in Sampurti, being more integrated, having more Shraddha in what you are doing, authenticity, and being more responsible, Upayanam, in whatever work is being done. And then being Apyayanam, enriching, making sure that it is, fulfilling and enriching and benefiting the other person. So these have to be developed, and they will continue to develop in the higher states of consciousness. But they will be Purna, they will be complete in a Jivan Mukta. So by doing this, then you get to the peak of your capabilities and capacities. And then by becoming more responsible, you will be automatically in dharma. And being in Apyayanam, you will be continuously, automatically helping and enriching others. And then also by being, showing this Apyayanam, you are continuously enriching all the people around you for the Loka Kalyana. So on one level, this is growing. Gita rising consciousness will help you for it to grow more and more. But in one who is in freedom and who is Jivan Mukta, these are completely fully developed. So when one develops that, then naturally it is described in the Veda that you develop what you call Manoshakti, Vakshakti, and all that. Maharishi talks in the Gita later on, he will say that whatever you think is fulfilled, whatever you say is fulfilled. And there is no automatic natural integration coming with the thoughts, with the speech, and with the actions. They are not disintegrated. So this is the benefit of being the enlightened Brahmana and then doing the actions from that level. So I will leave the floor up to Hema Devi, and she can expound on it better. Okay. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev Mataji.
Yeah.
Sunita, can we have the display of the scientific research? Coming to the scientific research, this was verified by the scientific research, shows increased use of hidden brain reserves through transcendental meditation. During the practice of transcendental meditation, early sensory components of the brain's response to stomatosensory stimuli are more widely distributed across the cortex, indicating greater participation of the whole brain in response to a stimulus. The main point of the verse, to the enlightened Brahmana, all the Veda are of no more use, indicates more frequent experiences of higher states of consciousness, growth of higher states of consciousness, increased self-sufficiency, and increased autonomy and independence. Jai Gurudev.
So this is a good example of how we develop full potential. Maharishi had always been saying, by doing transcendental meditation, we use more and more of our brain potential. And now this scientific study is proving that. Very good. Any questions?
Yeah, please ask questions, Nana, if there are any, because I have to leave. So if anyone has questions for Mataji, ask, and then you can all enjoy.
No, I think you made it clear, Mataji. So thank you for joining us. You may leave because you have other things to do. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll see you again later, next
Okay.
time. So let us carry on with the next shloka.
May I request the Vedic Pandits to recite the Samskrita shloka 47?
Om कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूर्मा ते शङ्कोऽस्त्वकर्मणि ॐ
Jai Gurudev. You have control over action alone, never over its fruits. Live not for the fruits of action, nor attach yourself to inaction. There is a marvelous sequence of instruction here. This verse demonstrates once more the awareness of Sri Krishna Bhagavan and his clear and deep insight into Arjuna's mind. As Arjuna was instructed to be without the three gunas in verse 45, and the next verse was told that as a result, he would fulfill all his aspirations in the relative field, he might very well infer that he was not required to do anything more. Therefore, in order that Arjuna might not develop an aversion to action, Sri Krishna Bhagavan says in this verse, you have control over action alone. This should bring Arjuna to feel that he is to concern himself with nothing but action. He should be so completely absorbed in the action itself as to become oblivious of everything else, even of its fruits. For this reason, Sri Krishna Bhagavan adds, never over its fruits. This does not mean that Arjuna is not to fight for the sake of winning the battle. It does not mean that the action should be done without caring for its result. That would be hypocrisy. It is the anticipated fruit of an action that induces a man to act. It is desire for a result that makes him begin to act and enables him to persist in the process of action. Sri Krishna Bhagwan wishes to show that the result of the action will be greater if the doer puts all his attention and energy into the action itself. If he does not allow his attention and energy to be distracted by thinking of results, the result will be according to the action. There is no doubt about that. If a student thinks the whole time about passing an examination, the progress of his study will be hampered and this will jeopardize the result. It is to ensure the greater success of an action that the doer is asked not to concern himself with results during the course of the action. But this does not imply that he should be indifferent to results. If he becomes consciously indifferent to results, the process of action will certainly become weak and this will also weaken the results. It would be absurd to infer from this verse that a man has no right to the fruits of his action. Only the technique for achieving the maximum result from an action is given here. The doer has every right to enjoy the fruits of his action. Sri Krishna Bhagwan says that he has no control over the fruits because the fruits will inevitably be according to the action. Having fixed the objective, having begun to act, and having become intimately engrossed in the process of action, he should fulfill the action with such complete devotion and undivided attention that he is oblivious even of its fruits. Only in this way will he achieve the maximum results from what he does. The teaching of non-anticipation of the fruit of action has an even deeper cosmic significance in that it is supported by the very process of evolution. If a man is held by the fruit of action, then his sole concern is centered on the horizontal plane of life. Seeing nothing higher than the action and its fruit, he loses sight of the divine which pervades the action and is the almighty power at its basis, leading it to ultimate fulfillment. He thus loses direct contact with the vertical plane of life on which the process of evolution is based. Thus, it is clear that Sri Krishna Bhagwan's teaching, on the one hand, supports activity and on the other, upholds evolution and freedom. The following verse indicates that it is possible for everyone to live the values of the divine in the world. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you, Bindu. May I request Hemaji to comment on this verse, please?
Okay. So we have seen in the previous verses, in verse 45, Sri Krishna Bhagavan told Arjuna to be without gunas, means go into silence. And that when he reaches there, he will be fulfilled. But Sri Krishna Bhagavan doesn't want Arjuna to think that he doesn't have to do anything else. So now the instruction for Arjuna is to come out and act. And then he says that he has control over action alone and that he should be fully focused on action, even to the extent where he should not be thinking about the fruit of action, because he has no control over the fruit of action. But then the big question comes, how is it possible not to expect Is there some situation? Is there any problem? I got some message.
Your video is off, ma'am. That's the reason. Now
Is-
you're on.
Your camera was off now.
Your
It
camera
just
was
got
off.
switched on.
Is it on now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the question is, how is it possible not to expect or live for the fruits of action? So this shloka, karmanyevadhikaraste, it does not mean that the action should be done without caring for its result. This is a very important point to understand that Maharishi is explaining us. It is the anticipated fruit of action that induces a man to act. It is desire for the result that makes him motivated to act and enables him to persist in the process of action. So, what is important to understand is that the result of action will be greater if the doer puts all his attention and energy into the action itself. If he does not allow his attention and energy to be distracted by thinking of results, because the result will be according to the action. There is no doubt about that. And Maharishi gave a beautiful example. Let's say a student is going to write exams, and instead of preparing for the exam, as he's preparing, if the student is thinking, oh, I will get good marks, and then I will get into medical college or engineering school, and then I'm going to make a lot of money and all that, he's daydreaming. He is imagining all the things, what will happen after the examination. So this way, he's spending time and energy in thinking about the result and not really preparing properly for the exam. So that's not going to be very effective. If he doesn't prepare properly for the exam, he may fail in the exam. So the important thing is just focus on your action. In this case, focus on preparing for the exam. And Maharishi said, the doer has every right to enjoy the fruits of action. But there is a big but here. That is, Sri Krishna says that he has no control over it, because the fruit will be according to the action. So you have to stay focused on action, be fixed on the objective, and fulfill the action with undivided attention. This way, one will achieve maximum results. The last point that's made in this shloka is the cosmic significance of the action. Sometimes we find that we did everything right, but we are not getting the right fruit of action. Probably some of you had that experience. Why is that? We try to understand, and we are looking at the surface reasons of, did I do this right? Did I do that right? What mistake I did? But that is all searching on the surface. We have to understand that there is something higher than the action and the fruit of action. And that something higher is the divine, that unseen force that is at the basis of action. So it is this divine force that gives the ultimate fulfillment to our actions. This point is brought out in chapter 18, the last chapter of Gita. And as all of you know, or some of you know, I'm fond of quizzes. So I want to give a quiz, and those who are advanced seekers, we have highly evolved souls in this group. So this is a homework for you, and pick up the shloka that explains this cosmic significance of the unseen force that is underlying all action. So that we can discuss next week when we do the recapping. So I'll stop here. Any questions? Let's do scientific research. Anita ji?
Yeah. So, verse 47, the scientific research through Maharishi Transcendental Meditation shows improved job performance. Employees who learned Maharishi Transcendental Meditation program showed improved job performance in comparison to control subjects. You have control over action alone. Live not the fruits of action, nor attach yourself to inaction. Relates to greater ability to achieve more with less effort, greater organizational ability and decision-making ability, improve problem-solving ability, increase ability to think and act efficiently in the present, improve academic performance, and improve athletic performance. Jai Gurudev. And I really think there are some very beautiful scientific research which are connected with it. And one most appropriate which goes with this verse is greater ability to achieve more with less effort. Jai Gurudev. Thank you, Hemaji.
Thank you, Anita ji. Any questions? Pooja, go ahead.
How is it possible when we perform action and we don't think about the results?
Yeah, that's what we have been trying to emphasize. Okay, Maharishi said that we don't expect the fruit of action. He did not say that. What he's saying is not to focus on the fruit of action. So those two things are different. One is action, one is fruit of action. So let's make it very clear. So like in this example of the student studying for the exam. So focus on exam study instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to pass, I'm going to get good results, and I'm going to become a doctor, an engineer, like that. If you get preoccupied with that, then you are not doing justice to your preparation. So we have the expectation that, okay, I'm doing this action, with this action, I get the result. We again, for example, you are a TM teacher, you give an introductory lecture, you have, 50 people in the audience, you do a great job, you present what transcendental meditation is. And then how many of that 50 learn? You have no control over that. Maybe 10, maybe 15, maybe all of them, maybe no one. But you did your good job. So what you do, you go, the action you have to do is you do the TM intro lecture. That's your job. You did. How many learn from that group? You have no control over that. Because there are so many other factors that influence that aspect of the fruit of action. Their previous samskaras, their level of consciousness, so many other things, and that unseen force that is underlying all this activity. So you don't go to a TM intro lectures saying that, okay, I'm going to give a beautiful lecture and then I want 20 people to learn. We don't do that. Clear? Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Any other questions?
Hemaji, can we show the wishes for future learning or to future materialistic life? Can we?
What about materialistic life, Vinod?
Let's suppose we are living in old home and we want a good home, a new home, or just like so.
Okay.
This kind of materialistic life means we are living in old home and we want to live, or we want to have a new house.
Okay.
And such things as somebody want to move from one country to another country. These are also the wishes,
Wishes. Okay. Yeah. So your question is it okay or not okay to have such desires, you mean? What is your question?
Yes.
Yeah, it is okay. Desire is okay. In chapter 7, Sri Krishna Bhagavan says, any desire that is according to your dharma is okay. You are living in an old house. Maybe it's not Vastu perfect. You want to move into a house which is Vastu home. It is perfectly all right. Only we don't involve in doing any illegal things in it. Dharmically, you want to go move into a nice Vastu house. That is fine. That's one thing. And the other thing is we don't have any attachment to anything. Say somebody asked Maharishi, is having a lot of money bad because you get attached to it? Maharishi said, having money is not bad. Getting attached to your money is bad. So the whole point is to not to be attached, and we experience that when we go beyond the three gunas, when we experience your consciousness, you are going beyond the attachment. So any dharmic desire is fine. Anything that is not dharmic, which is against dharma, is not right. Say, for example, most of you have to work to make a living, to support your family. Fine. You have to go to work and earn money. But do your dharma. That is your dharma, to support your wife and children. But you do not resort to illegal actions. That would be not dharmic. That you will be committing sin. And we don't want to do something wrong, because whatever we do, anything wrong, it will come back to us. So dharmic way of earning money is okay. But something that is not dharmic, stealing, taking bribes, taking other people's possessions, then you can't argue and say, oh, I have to support my wife and children, so I will steal. No, that argument does not stand. You have to do dharmic activity. I see Chand raised her hand. Please go ahead, unmute and ask, please.
Yeah, ma'am, it's a nice session which is going on. Incidentally, this is my first opportunity to attend this session.
Oh, welcome.
My question might sound a little irrelevant, but please excuse me for that. But I have a burning question which haunts me regularly. Is that if a mind is regularly in a dilemma of believing in several gods, I mean, this God also, that God also, this God also, and doesn't feels that how can I annoy one God while remembering only that God? And the mind, I mean, at different points of time, I bow to this God and then to that God and to that, but I never discarded anyone. I stuck with one, but never discarded. Means I switched to, but did not say that, okay, I'm done with you. Now, while, for example, if I'm eating or I'm drinking water, I always remember the deity or the God. Now, I'm remembering so many. So sometimes the question comes in my mind, am I floundering? Am I confused? Am I going in the right direction? I mean, how to choose? I don't find any authority to tell me this is where this way you go.
Yeah. So I understood your question. This is one situation which is faced by many people. God is one, but we worship God in different ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes we call Krishna, sometimes we call Shiva or Ganesha or Devi or Hanuman or Allah or Jesus. Doesn't matter. It is one consciousness, it is one energy. Physicists call it energy. And this energy is indestructible, avinashi. And this energy, we give different names. In Upanishads, they call it Brahman, big, which is one. Ekam Advitiyam. It is one. There is no second to it. Because this energy is Sarva Vyapi. It is all pervading the entire creation without exception. So underlying this manifest creation, this indestructible energy is there. That is what we call in common language as God. Everybody understands God. Some people call it Paramatma. Some people call it Bhagavan. And some people call it Purushottama. And physicists call it unified field. Some people may not like the word God. They call it unified field. They're happy with it. Fine. You can call unified field. And again, this unified field, which we call God, it is formless. There is Nirakara. So it is, we call, in Vedanta, we call it Nirgun Nirakar Brahman. There is no shape.
Right.
It is Nirgun and Nirakar. But in order to make people like you and I happy, this Nirgun Nirakar Brahman, that energy, it takes a form. And then we call it Sagun Sakar Brahman. Then you're happy. You see Krishna with flute and with the cow, and he's singing and dancing. It makes you so happy. So in order to make his devotees happy, we say his commonly, or it. We don't call it it, but it's energy. It is beyond gender. So for some people, it is Devi, Parabrahma Swarupini. And when you think about Divine Mother, it can be in the form of Mahalakshmi, Mahadurga, Mahakali, or Mahasaraswati. We give different names. And all these different names we give because each of this different aspect of Brahman is taking care of one aspect of this creation. For example, when you are studying, it is Mata Saraswati that is enlivening your brain so that you can comprehend what you are reading. Mahadurga, she organizes everything for you. And that she has infinite organizing power. Then we call it Mahadurga. And Mahalakshmi, she gives all the equipment you need, prosperity in order to accomplish something, to do anything. You need instruments, you need money. So that's what she gives. So it is different aspect of Brahman that we are worshipping. So there is no need to feel guilty about, oh, if I worship Sri Krishna, maybe Lord Shiva will get angry. No. We think like that. They don't think like that. Shiva is silence, Vishnu is dynamism. So these are different aspects of the same energy. Chand, did I answer your question?
And further, for example, if I'm remembering 10 forms and the manifestations, so while remembering all 10, am I doing justice, or I should contain to one aspect of Brahman?
Some people have one Ishta Devata, and then they worship that Ishta Devata. But then you respect all other deities also. For some, Hanuman is their Ishta Devata. But then they don't say, oh, I don't like Vishnu, I don't like Shiva, like that. On Hanuman Jayanti, you worship Hanuman. On Janmashtami, you worship Krishna. During 9 days of Mother Divine, you worship Mother Divine. So,
But
yeah.
in Gita, they say, Mam Ekam, like say, Muj Ek ko yad. I mean, as I've heard the interpretation, Mam Ekam yad means you remember only me. Krishna has said.
Yeah.
So then it is being suggested that you remember only one, not the many.
Okay, so here, when Krishna says that, Krishna Bhaktas, they worship Krishna. Shiva says the same thing to his devotees. So what it is, let's say you have 10 children in a room. And then you ask the children, you ask one child, you say, who is the best mother in the world? That child will say, my mother is the best in the world. His mother is best for him. Now you ask the next child, He says, my mother is the best in the world. And they both are right, because this child's mother is best for him and the other one is best for him. So it's the same thing. So you worship a god and you think that is the best, no problem with that. But only you don't say, oh, somebody else's Ishta Devata is not as good as mine. That is
No, no.
not right. Okay?
So that's I'm remembering. My question is I'm remembering 10, and I feel that am I not doing justice? I should devote to one. Why I'm remembering 10 or 12? This is my I feel internally the question comes up that I seem not to be not doing right by remembering 10 at the same time, because you can't give your full heart to all 10 at one point of time.
Yeah. So we don't try to give attention to 1 or 10. We just stay focused on one innocently. And then when the other thoughts come, you just ignore them or you be neutral to them. We have to stop now because it is time to end the meeting. We have gone over actually. We only have 9 minutes. So we will have a 3-4 minute meditation and then 5 minutes of recitation of the second chapter. Madhavi, go ahead.
Jai Gurudev. So may I request all of you to slowly close your eyes, take a comfortable position and start your meditation. Jai Gurudev. Jai Gurudev. Slowly open your eyes. Jai Gurudev.
Manishi and Ghansham and Mukeshji, 37 to 72, please.
जी दीदी।
हाँ,
दो भर बोलना है कि पूरे?
एक अनम्यूट करना।
पार्थाया प्रतिबोधिता भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन कृतितां पुराणम् मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणि भगवती अष्टादशाध्यायिनी अम्ब त्वामनुसन्तदामि भगवद्गीते भगवद्वेषिणि यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुवन्ति देव्यस्तवैः वेदे साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुषुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः ॐ तहतो वाव्यप्रपास्यसि त्वत्त्वावोक्षस्यसेमहि तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः सुखदुःखे समे कृत्वा लाभालाभौ जयाजयौ ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि एषा ते विहता साङ्ख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे त्विमां शृणु बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्मबन्धप्रहास्यसि नेहाभिक्रमणास्तोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्स्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात् व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिर्रेकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखाह्यनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाः यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचं प्रवदन्त्य विपश्चितः वेदवादरता पार्थ नान्यदस्तीति वादिनः कामात्मानः स्वर्गपरा जन्म कर्म फलप्रदा क्रियाविशेषबहुला भोगेश्वर्य गतिं प्रति भोगेश्वर्यप्रसक्तानां तया प्रहतचेतसाम् व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः समाधौ विधीयते त्रैगुण्यवशया वेदानस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थो निर्गयो क्षेम आत्मवान् यावानर्थ उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्रचोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फलहेतुर्भो मा ते शङ्कोस्त्वकर्मणि योगस्था कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्यो समा भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते दोरेण्यमलं कर्मं बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्वच्छ कृपणः फलहेतवः बुद्ध्ययुक्तो जहातीह उभौ सुकृते तस्माद्योगाय युज्यस्व योगाकर्मसु कौशलम् कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धुर्विनिर्मुक्तः पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम् यदा ते मोहकलिलं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदं श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च श्रुतिप्रतिपन्ना तथास्थाप्यसिद्धिश्चल समाधावचना बुद्धिस्तथा योग्यमवाप्स्यसि अर्जुन उवाच स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्तस्य केशव क्षतिः किं प्रभासेता किमासीत व्रजेत किम् श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रजहाति यया कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टस्ततप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते सुखदुःखे सुनद्विगमना दुःखस्वेनुद्विग्नमनः सुखे सोऽप्रकृतसप्रः वीतरागभयक्रोधस्ततर्धेर्मुच्यते या सर्वत्रानविस्नेहस्तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभम् नाभिनन्दन्ति द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता यदा सम्मर्ते चायं कुर्मोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियेभ्यस्तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता विषया विनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जं रसोऽप्यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते यततो ह्यपि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विपश्चितः इन्द्रियाणि प्रमादीनि हरन्ति प्रसवं मनः तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आसीत् मत्परः वसे यस्येन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसा सङ्गस्तेषुपजायते संगात् संजायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहः स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति रागद्वेषवियुक्तेस्तु विषयानिन्द्रियश्चरन् आत्मवश्येर्विधिर्यात्मा प्रसादमधिगच्छति प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां हानिनश्योपजायते प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्यासो बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न च भावयता शान्ति प्रशान्तस्य कुथा सुखम् इन्द्रियाणां विचरतां यन्मनोनुपदीयते तस्य हरतिविज्ञानं वायुर्नावविभावशि तस्माद्यस्य महाबाहो गृहीतानि सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यस्तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता यानि सा सर्वभूतानां तस्यां जागर्ति संयमे यस्यां जागृति भूतानि सा निशा पश्यतो मुनिः अपूर्यमाणाचिरप्रतिष्ठं समुद्रमापः प्रवसन्ति यदपदा तद्वद्कामायं प्रवसन्ति सर्वे स शान्तिमाप्नोति न कामी विहाय कामान्य सर्वानुपश्चरति निःस्पृहः नरममो निरहङ्कारः स शान्तिमधिगच्छति येषा ब्राह्मी स्थितिः पार्थ नैनां प्राप्य विमुह्यते स्थित्वा स्यामन्तकालेऽपि ब्रह्मनिर्वाणमुच्यते ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे संवादे साङ्ख्ययोगो नाम द्वितीयोऽध्यायः। श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु। श्रीकृष्णचन्द्रार्पणमस्तु। श्रीकृष्णचन्द्रार्पणमस्तु। ॐ
Thank you. Do we have anybody celebrating their birthdays today?
Today or in the last week, if anybody had a birthday, let us know. We will sing happy birthday to you and our Pandits will give Vedic Ashirvad.
Today my daughter's birthday, Hemant.
Huh?
My daughter's birthday today.
Who is that?
Padma.
Padma.
Daughter.
Tell her we wish her very happy birthday. We wish to sing for those that are here in the group. Wish her on our behalf. Tell her we wish her very happy birthday. Okay. Okay. So we will meet again next Friday. All of you come on camera now and let's say Jai Gurudev to Maharishi together. Thank you all for joining.
Jai
Jai Gurudev. Bani, Jai Gurudev, Bela, Rohit is here, Jai Gurudev, Pooja, Jai Gurudev, Baby Chaudhary ji is there, Baby Tiwari ji is there, all the way from Suriname. Nice to have you, Pandit ji. He is Pandit ji in Suriname. Pratibha, after a long time, nice to have you in the group. And Chand ji, first time. Hope you can join us again. Okay. All right. So we will end the meeting now and see you all next week. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai.